It's my last day in Chicago. I recently picked up a roll of Harman Phoenix 200 film to test out, and here are my thoughts. It's been almost 3 months since this film stack has hit the shelves, and as I'm not mainly a film photographer, I didn't really plan on going out of my way to acquire what's essentially an experiment released to the consumer. However, while I was out in Chicago, I came across it at the film lab I was frequenting and decided to give it a go. Looking into this film, I noticed that it did reds really well. It doesn't do super well in like high contrast situations, and I was also suggested by a friend to shoot at least one stop overexposed for most of the images, which is what I ended up doing. With that limited knowledge, I thought of a subject that I had passed by every single day, but neglected to take any photos of, that seemed like the perfect first photo for this role. This is what I was thinking about. This was the only photo that I had taken at box speed, and even though the lighting was fairly even, it still seemed to retain very little detail in the shadows near the wheel wells of the car. That, and you can see how funky the grain can get, especially in the highlights on top of the vehicle. I also ended up taking another photo of this car on a similarly overcast day on Kodak Gold 200, and this is how those two compare. Like my last self-assignment, I shot this entire roll in a single day and subconsciously found myself in another self-assignment of sorts. Being under the impression that this film does reds really well, I found myself searching for anything red, and I found a lot of red. I've never gone out shooting with the intent to look for specific colors, and upon doing so, I found myself seeing this environment that I had been in for an extended period of time looking so much different, noticing how much red there really was where I was, which also reminded me of confirmation bias and how when you have a belief in something, you'll find evidence for that belief system anywhere and everywhere. In the same sense, the more I looked for red, the more I found red in my environment and almost neglected any other colors that I came across. Considering what was suggested to me as far as trying to shoot this film in evenly lit settings, I was attempting to do so, but the clouds scattered, the sun was starting to become unpredictable, but I just decided to shoot in those scenarios regardless, just to see how this film looked in those higher contrast scenarios. And almost immediately you can tell a difference. I mean, the grain becomes super harsh and unforgiving. Even skin tones become more and more unflattering. I found paler skin tones, either a sickly yellow or absolutely blown out and desaturated. As for darker skin tones, they seem to look a little better, but they still had like a very orange hue to them. At some point I decided that I should probably start shooting colors outside of red to see how they held up with this film, and I was actually pleasantly surprised with some of the results. Depending on my angle to the sun when shooting, the blues were actually phenomenal in some of these photos. They definitely shifted in hue and saturation quite a bit depending on my relation to the sun, but in all, very satisfied with the blues. From the photos that I did get that had prominent green subjects in the frame, the one came out half decent. It's punchy, dark, heavily saturated green. The other photo, which is supposed to be green, supposed to be a green sign, however, did not come out that way. It came out even darker and almost black. Despite its quirks, this was still a fun experience, and I enjoyed some of the photos that came out of it. I think if Harman Technologies can refine this film, especially in regards to dynamic range, I think we could end up with a really fun, cool, punchy color film stock. I say that because when it works, I think it does an amazing job, and I was actually a fan of quite a few of the photos I got out of this roll. It's warm, the colors are bold and almost nostalgic, and if the variables are just right, you can get some pretty cool halation in your highlights. Now, I'm not a film expert. Mostly I shoot digital, and that might seem like a lie because I think a majority of the videos I've posted on here are of me shooting film. I just wanted to share my experience shooting this film and some of the images I was able to capture. Let me know in the comments if you've shot Phoenix 200 yet, and if you have, I'd love to see some of the photos. And if you like this video, leave a thumbs up, subscribe. Also wanted to thank my friend Austin, who came out the last 2 days. What is this? Also wanted to thank my friend Austin. I'm gonna put that in here. Also wanted to thank my friend Austin for coming out for the last 2 days of this trip and helping shoot some of the footage for this video. And with that, thanks for watching.